Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Keeping It Real on Purpose, and I am your host, Edna White. We are so happy today to have on our show the special guest, Faust Ruggiero, a seasoned psychologist with over 35 years in private practice. Before that, he brought his expertise to a wide range of environments, from working with deaf children and incarcerated individuals to supporting patients in nursing homes, substance abuse centers, and inpatient facilities. His clinical experience is matched by his work as a published research author and a trusted consultant for both the national and international corporations. I welcome what I call the Fix It Man to the show today. Welcome, Force, to the show.
Edna, thanks so much for inviting me. It's just a pleasure to be with you today.
Oh, you're so welcome. So, how do you show up in the world?
Well, the best way to describe me is a person in service of people. It's not only what I think I'm built to
Yeah.
do with what the Lord gave me, it's all those things. It is what I enjoy. I've been
Uh-huh.
doing this for a lot of years, and I'm still doing it. I still carry a private practice and write and do all these things. But, you know, to know me is to know that that's me, the caregiver. And you don't give care just to anyone. It's people that need it. Some people will
Yeah.
reach out when they don't need it. But
Mm-hmm.
I like to get out there and make a difference that way, because then
Yeah,
people play it forward.
absolutely. Do you find being yourself and all that you do very easy? Because, some people say to me, you do a lot of things. How do you get the time? But do you find it easy?
Yeah, I do. I'll tell you why. I get a question, people, because I talk about balance so much, and they'll say, "Well,
Hmm.
how do you balance your work and personal,
Yeah.
private life?" And I say, "I don't. I do all of it. It's all the same. I love all of it." So,
Yes, great
that's the
answer.
way it has to be. I look at things as gifts. That old
Hmm.
thing. The Lord's testing me. I said, "No, the Lord's giving you a gift. We have to interpret things
Yeah,
differently.
yeah,
That's what
that's
we
so
need to
true.
be doing." So I just, if something comes along, I had a
Yeah.
very challenging thing with a friend and his family, friend that passed,
Hmm.
and people are saying, "My God, how did you deal with that?" And I said, I just looked at it and said, "The Lord put me in that position. That's a gift. I'm being
Yeah.
trusted enough to do that. I've been given
Hmm.
my gifts. Let's go unleash them on the world and let's enjoy it."
Right, absolutely. You just talked about internal balance because that's what it is. It's like the foundation for
Yeah.
personal transformation, right? How does someone begin to restore that balance when life feels completely overwhelming?
You know, the first thing I tell people is,
Hmm.
there's so many things. It's where you put your energy. It's where you put your attitude. The
Oh,
world is
good.
dynamic. It's going to keep on coming at us. It's never going to stop. And we
Yeah,
think in our minds that, gee, if I just get this done, I'll be okay. I'll arrive there. Things will all be good. And I just say, you're fooling yourself. Tomorrow will be something else that challenges you. And
yeah,
the next day, it's a mindset. So I tell them, how do you get started? Slow down first. And that
yeah,
doesn't mean you go slow in your life. It means stop this intense pace where you must be doing all these things. Uh,
yeah,
it's a disconnect. When we were kids, there was no internet and all that. Even into my
yeah.
adulthood, we were able to decompress, and they're connected all the time, and they're reacting
Right.
to everything all the time.
Mhm.
Take care of your body. What's
Oh,
supposed to
wow.
go in. That's a huge one. The
Huge.
person that comes, I have so much anxiety, and I say, well, let's look at your diet, full of carbs,
Right.
full of sugar, full of caffeine. I said, gee, slow down. You want me to help you to not have
Yes.
anxiety? And I always tell them, let's start with your body. If you want to start with balance,
Yes.
get your body calmed down.
Yeah.
Stop
So
doing
very
the
true.
things that are wrong.
Yeah. So very true. It's so very true, but so very commonsensical that we don't do it. We just don't do it. I know in my own life, my diet is the thing that I know if my diet's off, I'm off. It just, that's the way it is. And every time something happens to me that's negative, or I'm feeling anxious, or even when my bones pop, okay, what did I have that was sweet? You know,
Mhm.
you know,
Right.
so you know,
And you hit right on it. Those
yeah.
foods do things to our body,
Hmm.
and we stop. They're like little pause signs, and we run right
Yes.
through them. I always
Right
use the
through.
example. I say, folks, you have a car. Let's say it runs on gasoline. Do you
Hmm.
put orange juice in the gas tank? Of course not, because it's not meant to go there. All these sugars, all these artificial everything, all these carbs, and all these things you do to
Hmm.
yourself were never meant to go in your body. So since they are not meant to be there, you will have reactions to whatever they do in your body. Get yourself back to a good diet. Get enough
Yeah.
sleep.
Oh
Purge
yeah,
out
that's
the
good.
things that don't belong there, like all the energy drinks and the sugar
Hmm.
caffeines, and your body has enough energy to run on its own. It really does.
Right. It does. It really does. I like that you ask your clients first, you know, about the body, because we often think, I'm gonna tell you, I started losing weight like consistently when my mindset changed.
Mhm.
I was exercising every day. Then my son told me, "No, mom, you got to give yourself a break, right? So you got to break." So so it's every three days out of the week, and then I do walking every day. That's my thing, right? And so what really got me is that my weight didn't change. It went up and down. And I couldn't kind of regulate it. I was like, "What the heck is wrong with me?" And not until I calmed my mind down, because my mind was going all over the place, and I was always saying something bad about myself, right? And we're talking about this internal balance, like, oh, that looks horrible, that look, didn't realize all of that kind of affects what's happening.
I have a new book coming out in a
Mhm.
couple of months, and it's the Fix Your Internal Language Handbook.
Yes.
So you're hitting right on things. The way we talk to ourselves
Yeah.
and the way we convince ourselves that doing the wrong thing can be okay. Uh,
Hmm.
we beat ourselves up. We tell ourselves
Hmm.
all these angry things, and by the
Right.
end of it, then we look for quick fixes to make
Right.
us feel a little better. And what better quick fix is there with food, or buy something, or go in debt, and do all these things. We need to start just dealing with facts. These are the facts. This is the way it
Yeah.
is. Learn how to
Yeah.
deal with them and stop resisting the changes we need to make. We do those things. It's really not complicated. When I teach
No.
people, I always say, I didn't come up with anything new.
Right.
I may have put it together a little bit different, but
Hmm.
really, it's nothing more than balance your body, your
Hmm.
emotions, your mind, and your spirit. You balance
Yes.
those, you have a good day.
Yeah.
Simple.
Absolutely simple. When you continue to have like these anxiety episodes, becomes a learned behavior, because you mentioned some things like, eating, shopping, things like that. They become a behavior. What are some first steps to unlearn that?
The first step I tell people, besides slowing down and getting the facts, I say, talk to someone. Get out of your own head. If
Ooh.
if what you're doing is repetitive, if it seems like addictive or compulsive, or you just can't seem to get happy, and you're trying
Mm-hmm.
so many things, well, okay, you've exhausted so many different
Right.
avenues.
Right.
Go talk to someone, not your friend down the road who's going through the same thing. That's not going to work. If you're saying I have all these things, is it physical? Is it emotional? Get a counselor. Get your family doctor involved. Go get it out of your head and get to someone who has the skills and the ability to move you in a different direction. You
Yes.
should feel you're worth that. That's I think
Mm-hmm.
telling people, every day we live our lives, every day it's going to change. We're going to be challenged. So we should be working on us every
Right.
day. You should feel that yeah, I'm good enough for that. I deserve that. I deserve to work on myself every day, and get the help I need, and then
Right.
little by little. The other thing is, don't expect change. There are no 10 easy steps. Those books are insane. Uh, that, you know, it's a
Very
journey.
true.
Little by
Yes.
little, we change every day. We keep attention on what we need to do every day. And if
Mm-hmm.
we do, it's good. There
Yeah.
are no cheat days. Just Enjoy your life. Give yourself the time and the commitment to make some changes and be willing
Yeah.
to wait. Be patient.
Yeah. Be patient. Yeah. That's a key point. It doesn't, those overnight fixes or those, feel good right now things really don't last. They don't last. They don't keep you in that area where you want to be happy. They don't keep you
You,
there.
if you do the right things,
Yes.
will change. If you want to
Mm-hmm.
go on a diet, if you think, well, I'll do these things. Let me check. Oh my God, I only lost a half a pound. Stop even looking at the scale. Do the right
Right. Do the
every
right
day.
thing.
How
Yes.
can you not get there? If you
Yes.
eat the right thing,
Absolutely.
I get this all
Yes.
the time. My weight stays constant at the same weight. If
Hmm.
I guarantee, if you see me 5 years from now, unless I got ill, I'll be this weight because that's what I put into my body every day.
Yeah.
Get up. I
Right.
can go 17, 18 hours a day if I want to because the energy level is there.
Yes.
And
That's
that's
the
just
most
the way it
important.
works. Your body has
Yes.
all that to do it right.
Yes.
What you're putting in is what you're doing to yourself is just what's
Yeah.
wrong.
Absolutely. One of the most powerful concepts I know that I've read in this book is using the Process Life program. Can you explain how it works and how listeners can apply it in real life?
And I think the most important point to understand is that it doesn't matter what you do every day. I don't care if
Yeah.
it's brushing your teeth or
Mm.
driving your car. There's a process involved. You
Right.
and I are doing this interview. I say this all the time when I do interviews. There's a whole process that we had involved here from the time we began to connect a month ago, sending a book to you, preparing
Yeah.
for this. There's a
Yeah.
process. Everything we
Yes.
do in life has a process. So
Mm-hmm.
to get to that internal balance, there are processes. There are things like taking care of your body. There are things like getting your intellect over your emotions so you don't keep
Mm-hmm.
overreacting to things, slowing down, learning how to set boundaries. Um, all different things like that. I have, I think, 36 of them in the book. And if you do
Mm-hmm.
these things, life changes.
Right.
And I like to. I'm very practical, very pragmatic about the way
Me
I do.
too.
If I say to you, hey, we're going to talk about getting your intellect over your emotion, I'm going to give you the steps to do this. And that's what as you know, that's what I do in my book. That's how I count.
Mm-hmm.
So that when you leave, you say, okay, I have this to do, and then you
Right.
go do it, and you keep on doing it. And the book has 36 processes. Doesn't mean that those apply to everyone. There are
Mm-hmm.
36 there. Some people are better, for example, at setting boundaries. Some people don't work with people pleasing or anger as much.
Right.
Other people do. But you go in and you say, what processes do I need to work on so I can feel better? And then,
Right.
and then we don't blame other people or the rest of the world for what we're doing. We hold ourselves accountable. We hold
Mm-hmm.
ourselves accountable to stay consistent with the program and
Right.
not blame anyone else. And then things change. We have to
Right.
be willing to do the work. But I also tell people, enjoy the work. This
Yeah.
isn't drudgery. It's your life. Make it
Yeah.
fun.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So, audience, I forgot to tell you that he has a series, right? The Fix Yourself Handbook. I have that. And I also know the Fix Anxiety Handbook. Fix your anxiety handbooks, the Fix Your Depression Handbook,
Correct.
the Fix Your Anger Handbook, and the new one, Fix Your Addiction Handbook. But he's going to be releasing something that's in, I think in the summer, right? The summer, I'll fix your
In June,
internal
yeah.
language, right?
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. Okay.
It's simply different topics about how to fix this in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Mm-hmm.
and we like to coddle ourselves. We like to convince ourselves that,
Yeah.
geez, that's a lot of work. And those of us that are willing to do it, we're happy. If you
Right.
want a career, you have to take the steps to get there. If you want to
Right.
have your relationship to be a good relationship, you take the steps to keep working on it. That's
Right.
life.
Right.
But it should be something you can enjoy. I have a friend that's a paraplegic, and he's been that way for 50 years, and he can't do
Mm-hmm.
anything for himself. And I say to
Mm-hmm.
myself, I have the option every single day of going out there and making my day, my marriage and my life better.
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
I look at it as a gift, and I enjoy it every day.
Right. 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 Many people try to fix, that's what we're talking about today, their lives with external solutions like jobs, relationships, even substances. Your books focus inward.
Mhm.
Why is internal work more effective for lasting change?
Because that's where your power is. I always start this by saying, look, everyone, we've been on this earth for it, depending on your philosophy, thousands or millions of years.
Yes.
How did we get to the point that we're still surviving? Not because everything out there,
Yes.
because it's in here. The power is here. Your
Yeah.
mind is your power, and it's not getting on Facebook and joining with the crowd and getting likes and giving likes. That's irrelevant. It's garbage. All your power is here. It's not out
Hmm.
there. It's not herd mentality. It's you
No.
make yourself strong. You know that every day you can get up, deal with your world,
Hmm.
and from the inside. It's always inside out. It's never outside in. That's
No.
fragile. I always say, who are you following? You're following the crowd.
Right.
Who is that? Did you define that? Because I define everything.
Yes.
Another
Yes.
thing, another process. Define your world. Who are
Yeah.
you following? You
Hmm.
know, have all the right information before you make decisions. Get the
Absolutely.
facts. You
Yes.
know,
Get the facts. I love it. Love it.
absolutely. The world works on facts. You can distort them if you want, but it's not going to help you. The
No.
facts, that's where internal power comes from. I'm dealing with exactly what's there, and I'm
Right.
able to do it, and I'm willing to do it. And
Right.
the other thing is, I don't try anything. I'm going to do it. You have to have that mindset. You know,
Absolutely.
if you're going to try
Absolutely.
it, when you say, "Well, I'll try that," you really told me you're not going to do it. You
Right.
built you built in accountability into that and told me it was going to be okay.
That's
I am going to
correct.
do this.
Hmm.
If I say
That's
I'm going to
correct.
be, a high jumper, I am going to be a high jumper, and that's all.
Hmm.
I may hurt and train and do that, but I'm getting to do that
Right.
one way or another. I'm going
That's
to
right.
make it happen.
Well, that's excellent. Excellent stuff. Well, audience, you're listening to this, right? Get your pens. I hope if you don't have your pens or if you're recording, download this because you gotta hear this. Okay. Listen, in your your anger handbook, you say anger is often a mask for other emotions.
Sure.
How can someone learn to recognize what's really going on beneath the surface?
Well, in that book, I have about 16 different kinds of anger. So first thing you want to know is where
Ooh.
the anger is coming from. Is this are you holding on to old pain? Are,
Mm-hmm.
you, are there some fit there? You talk about the body. Are there some physical things going on? Pain. You want to get a blood test and see where your neurotransmitters, those internal chemicals that stimulate your brain are. Yeah,
Right.
is that in the picture? You're back to what you put in your body, the caffeine and the drugs and
Right.
all those sorts of things. You want to slow down, and for some people, they can take this, run with it, and
Right.
fix it just by reading the
Right.
book. Other people are going to say, I may need to go to a counselor and get
Yeah.
these other things solved. I always
Right.
talk about undercurrents. Anger is
Right.
loaded with undercurrents, old angers, insecurities, fears. The best way to for a lot of people, deal with fear and insecurities with anger because it
Hmm.
pushes right into, it just comes right at you, and then no
Yes.
one knows you're
Like a
insecure.
bull in a china shop.
Right.
Yes.
You know, if you are being angry, people just aren't born angry. We're doing that to cover something up.
Uh-huh.
So, get to the cause of that. You
Right.
won't need it. When you get, it's so freeing to get to the point that, something goes wrong and you say, I'm not reacting anymore.
Right.
That is your intellect goes right into it. And that's again where you're getting your emotions in check here because
Mm-hmm.
anger can go rapidly, it can go quick, and
Right.
you react so fast. So
Yes.
undercurrents, past pain, trauma, fear, apprehension of the future, all those things come into play, and we
Mm-hmm.
we get angry about them. And the other thing is, stop being selfish and think you have to have it your way. You're entitled to nothing. You know what I mean? Really.
I love it.
Oh,
I
and people
love
get
it.
so angry when they don't get their way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's really good. You've worked in such diverse settings, from prisons to corporate boardrooms. Have you found that the Process Life program resonates equally across the different environments?
Absolutely. I have people using it for their marriage counseling. I have corporate people
Okay.
using it to
Okay.
train their management people, people doing it individually all across. Because no matter what we do in our lives, it doesn't matter where we're applying it.
Mm-hmm.
We're applying it. The person is applying it. So the stronger the person, the better the application anywhere. I have parents using it with their kids. I have people using it in small businesses, in large businesses, prisons. I even have some people using it there. So it depends on, you know, there's a little bit of a different application, but the process is the same.
Mm-hmm.
When I go
Mm-hmm.
into businesses, they'll say, well, we're going to use all these programs. And I say, really? And who's delivering those programs? And they stop. And I say, I don't care how complicated the program, how wonderful it is. Give me AI, the whole thing. Humans are still dealing with the program. The stronger the human, the better any application is.
Yes. Awesome. For someone dealing with multiple struggles like anxiety and addiction, how should they approach the series? Is there a particular order or a strategy you recommend?
If you're dealing, for example, with addiction, then I'd go right to that book,
Mm-hmm.
because you're not going to, it's so hard to apply any of the principles while your mind is addicted to a drug. So
Right.
let's get your body healthy first.
Right.
From that point, the first book, that's the kind of the flagship book that really explains all the processes.
Okay.
Then you can go into any of the other books. If you're dealing with anxiety and that's your main thing, go to that book. Depression,
Mm-hmm.
go to that one. Anger, same thing. But no, that first book, it really kind of lays the
Okay.
groundwork for how the program works.
Right. Right. Okay. Okay. And since we're talking about the addiction, and I know that that's a little bit, is that a little bit more work than just someone in trauma, or kind of get to the root cause? Is that a little bit more work? You know.
Well, the first step is just to get that addiction in check. And you
Okay.
may be able to
Okay.
do that with a 12-step program or just counseling. You may need an inpatient
Hmm.
program to do that. But get
Right.
that in check. Then you go out and start dealing with all the other things. So it's, answer your question, it's a little more complicated only
Hmm.
because we have a presenting problem that's an overwhelming one. But
Right.
what you find is once people get that in check, where they're not obsessed about the drug or the behavior, whatever it may be, now they can go back and say, okay, I'm not obsessed about that. Where is all this
Hmm.
coming from?
Hmm.
But you always get that piece done, and then you come back and then start working on yourself.
Right. 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 You said that the true personal growth comes from learning the process of life, um, instead of reacting to it. What does it look like in everyday situation like relationships or parenting or even at work?
You know, for me, I use my processes all the time.
Okay.
When my wife comes home, and let's say we're into something, we're discussing something, and she has one view, I have the other. My first step, okay, slow down. Let's let her
Hmm.
give me all her facts. I'll give her my facts. Let's get all the
Hmm.
information as an example.
Right.
Let's work for a solution. Processes always work for solutions. They don't focus on problems. It's get information, get the facts, give the other
Right.
person the respect to express their opinions,
Right.
work for a solution. If you can compromise together, that's great. But I use them in everything. I use them to set boundaries. People
Okay.
say, we can set a boundary, but we know, I always call them the boundary thieves are coming back and trying to get past those boundaries, because that's what people do. So you learn how to defend your boundaries. I don't want to be a people pleaser. I don't, because
Right.
that never works. I want to be able to say no if I have to say no,
Yeah, absolutely.
prioritize my world, so to speak. I don't want to
Hmm.
anger. I don't want to overreact first. They say, well, I want this. And I say, what? You have to be kidding. We're off track already. I've geared myself. I mean, this is later in
Hmm.
the program for me, but I've geared myself. So when something gets a little anxious or intense, my initial reaction, my default reaction is to go down and say, oh, really?
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
do not want that coming into my world. I don't want that anger, that intensity in my world. I want my head clear, and I want to be able to look at information, organize facts, prioritize, and then make some
Right.
arrive at some solution. So I always keep it calm as much as I can. I ask a lot of questions, uh,
Okay.
and I want that person to know that I'm interested in what they have to say, and
Right.
and that I'm willing to talk
So
about it
good.
and arrive at some type of conclusion. Even if I win the argument, I lost the person. What's the point? And
Right.
most of the arguments we have, as you know, are ridiculous arguments. So you
Yeah.
win the ridiculous argument, lose the person or lose time with that person for what?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm
Because a
constantly,
lot of it's emotion, right? A
it
lot of
is.
it's emotion. And I love how you said facts. So, audience, remember this: forced, facts, fix. All the F's that you need.
There you go. But you're
All
right.
the F's you need.
I've said it forever. The facts will always lead you to a solution. Be
Yes.
willing. My wife and I have a rule in our house. We
Uh-huh.
never express a conclusion. Well, I
Oh,
think it's
that's
this.
good.
We don't go there. We stay. That's poison. We
Yeah.
say, here's this situation. Let's
Mhm.
talk about it. We'll exchange information, and the conclusion will arrive from that. It works
That's
every time.
excellent. That's great. That's great. Oh, I love everything that you said. Forrest, thank you for sharing your wisdom and walking us through those powerful tools of yours, the Fix Yourself series. Like, it's empowering to see this. And I think that, thank you for that. Your work reminds us that healing isn't about quick fixes. Again, it's about the facts and it's about the fix. It's about consistent, intentional steps to lead us back to who we really are. So, listeners, are you ready? Because that's what he says right there. Are you ready to unleash that power? Right? If today's conversation sparked something in you, I encourage you to check out Faust's books, and you can find him at with the URL of Faust Inspire, FAUSTINSPIRE, right?
That's social media. And the
Yes.
website is my name, FaustRuggiero.com.
There
Everything
you
about
go.
me, the books. You can even see excerpts from the book, so you get an idea what you're buying before you buy it. And there's a contact.
Awesome. Awesome. So, whether you're navigating anxiety, depression, anger, addiction, or just feeling stuck, audience, there's something in these handbooks to guide you to your next breakthrough. Until next time, keep choosing growth, keep doing the work, and remember, you're not broken, you're becoming. Thank you, Forrest, for being here today. You have really given us a lot to do and stop trying.
And it has been my pleasure. Thanks so much for the invitation.
You're welcome. Bye for now.